Successful project collaborations, like any collaboration, are when there's shared values and the desire to stand shoulder to shoulder and not as adversaries.
Leaders' responsibility to create an environment in which people feel psychologically safe, and if somebody makes a mistake, we can help them fix it.
Sinek tells us in this video that collaboration really helps facilitate a lot of things, especially teamwork and results, productivity in an organization. But why does collaboration work so well? I'm going to draw a lot from this book from James Surrogatey, who wrote The Wisdom of Krautz. Fabulous book. If you haven't read it, get a hold of it. One of the things that he talks about is he gives an example of Golton, 1906, in the UK, England. He loved going to stock shows and fairs, and he'd look at how were people making decisions. He was a statistician, so he was always looking at how were decisions being made. And he was watching a livestock contest where an ox was brought out, and the people in the audience were asked to judge the dressed weight of the ox. And after the contest was over, Golton went and he asked for all of the tickets, the guesses that had been made. And he sat down, as a statistician would, analyzed each response. So out of the 800 people who responded, he had 787 responses that he could use. And as he studied that, what he discovered was that the average of the whole group was 1 pound off from the actual dressed weight of the ox. And what he learned in his research over the course of years is that actually the collective group, if it's a diverse group, is closer to getting to better than any one individual expert even than by themselves. Isn't that interesting? So we tend to think that if we have experts and we weigh in with expert opinions, we will have the best solution. And what the research is showing us is that actually that it may not necessarily be true. Actually, we're finding that when a diverse group is present and they are allowed to be independent in their thinking, they can indeed produce a better result than experts often can. What does that really mean? Well, often in our organizations, we tend to bring like people together. Like we have the C-suite come together. They do their strategic planning, maybe with the board of directors. These are like-minded people. They're not an array of people across the spectrum. They don't represent their customers at a basic level. They don't represent perhaps the salespeople at that customer level. They don't represent perhaps the community within which that customer is working. And so decisions are made with a narrow group, and that would be group thinking. And the result of that then is you have a very limited perspective because it is not diverse. So it's very interesting because when you begin to take a look at other groups, for example, our environment and how do they go about problem solving, we get some insights. So let's look at the bees, for example, the beehive. And although bees are not people, their behavior is interesting, and there is perhaps something for us to learn from it. So when bees are looking for where to go for that flower patch or that nectar that they need in order to produce their honey, they send out scouts, but the scouts go in every which direction. Diversity, right? They may go out 5-7 kilometers in order to find the right nectar or the right flower patch. And when they find one, they come back and they do a wiggle dance. And so some of the gathering bees go out with them. And then others who come back and wiggle and dance, they may find some other gathering bees and they'll go off in their direction and gather their nectar. And what they found is that when they came back and they looked at what was going on in the bees, they got just the right amount of nectar for the bees that went with the scouts to that particular place to gather the nectar that they needed. So diversity allowed them to be able to find as many alternatives as possible, to utilize those alternatives for the maximum value of the group. So collaboration allows us that ability to be diverse in our thinking, to be independent. It's not being in a situation where we feel like we have to speak a opinion because it is the PC thing to do. That will destroy that independence. So think about that in terms of what we're doing today in our organizations.